Hello, you guys. Welcome to the Ranting Shop. This is Melissa. Today we're going to be talking about Ready to Love Season 4, Episode 11. And why is Kyra still here? Kyra, go home. Your ego is bruised. You feel slighted. Somebody has gotten under your skin. You hate losing. Go home. Kyra is starting to look mighty pathetic, you guys. Let's get into it. So we're continuing off from where we left off. Jason chose Liz. AJ was left to make his decision, and he decided to go with Kyra. Why? Because, as I said before, strategically, Alexis was the better choice. For this show, for this game, Alexis was a better choice. Why? Because it was a safer choice. However, because AJ was not feeling Alexis on that level, he felt like it's not worth it to go with Alexis if he is not fully into Alexis. So he decided to change his mind. So it became nothing of logic, but everything of feelings and emotions. He said he waited 4 years for a second date. So essentially what that meant to me was he waited that long for redemption. He knew that that date that he had with Kyra went left. He knew he didn't look good. However, he spent a lot of time, I guess, wanting to redeem himself, and I suppose he never got that opportunity outside of the show, so he wants to take full advantage of the opportunity that he has on the show. But my thing about it is it also seemed as if outside of the show, after that date, he wasn't too interested in making things right with her. I kind of have to look at him sideways when he said he waited 4 years. I mean, why weren't you proactive outside of the show? He asked Kyra if she was willing to see where things went with him, and she said yes, because at the end of the day, Kyra's thing is she's not that into AJ, and I see people continuously say, oh, she's into AJ more, she's into AJ more. Where she is not into AJ, and we saw this clearly on this particular episode. We saw it bright as day, and if people are still coming to the conclusion that she prefers AJ, they are beyond delusional. What they're doing is imposing their feelings on the situation because they think Kyra and AJ look good together. They just have this assumption that she wants him more, but she doesn't. And if this episode didn't make this clear to you, you're living in delusion. Kyra said, I'm only choosing one husband. When I pick that man, I don't want to go back to anybody else. So what that said to me was that she's not confident in her and AJ's connection, and later on we'll see why. She's confident that Jason is that person for her. However, her issue is that she's been stung with the truth of the matter that Jason in fact chose Liz instead of her. I don't think she believed it when AJ told it to her at that moment, but she will have to come to that realization later on in the show. Alexis is going home. Nobody's surprised. The moment AJ decided to keep Kyra was the nail in the coffin for Alexis. There was no way she'd be able to stay. And Alexis felt like her strategy of, pointing out weaknesses in his other relationship and showing him how she was a better choice would get him to choose her. But at the end of the day, logically, she was the better choice. However, when feelings get into the mix, it's no longer about logic. It's about that urge to fulfill what you feel like you need to fulfill with whoever that you want to fulfill it with. And she came to that realization. She simply could not compete with Kyra, especially as far as AJ's feelings were concerned. He had more of a connection with Kyra, and everybody could see that. He said to her, he doesn't know if he could see or be truly what she saw. So she saw all these things in him. Oh, he's able to calm her down. He's able to do this. He's able to do that. What he's essentially saying is, I'm not that. And I'm not that for you. I can't be that for you. I don't want to be that for you. Okay? And she just had to swallow the pill. As hard and as difficult as it was, she had to come to the conclusion that it is what it is with AJ. She said she felt backstabbed. And I don't think he backstabbed her. And that's the thing about it. So many people are saying AJ played her, but she played herself. She played herself. She had those warning signs, those physical warning signs, the butterflies in her stomach, that flight or fight response that she might be in danger, and she continued to pursue it regardless. Last episode, he told her, "You are the safe choice." He essentially called her boring, and she was content with that. But as I told you guys, she was content with it because that is what she reduced herself to. She reduced herself to being the counter of Kyra. She wanted to position herself as the opposite of Kyra, and that meant that she was the safer option, she was the less argumentative option, she was the less thrilling option. She reduced herself to that. So when he said that to her, she took it because she saw that that was what she was. She felt like that was what she was at that moment, and she couldn't contest that because she wasn't in a position to contest. And at the end of the day, Alexis wanted to win. So that further fueled her non-response when he told her something seemingly not disrespectful but demeaning a bit. He said he wasn't walking in surety with his decision to pick Kyra, his decision on Kyra, and it's because she never chose him back. And it's because she never chose him back because her heart and her mind is not with AJ. Her heart and mind is with Jason, and finding out why Jason didn't pick her, and finding out the disparity. Why is it that she didn't get a certain thing from his message, but he did something else that completely baffled her? So here comes Miss Kyra walking into, the meeting with Tommy, and Liz is surprised. Liz is like, "Why are you still here? I thought Jason chose me, and I'm pretty sure AJ had a strong connection with Alexis." But little did Liz know that AJ felt a stronger connection, a more thrilling connection with Kyra. And I feel like Liz is a bit delusioned. Her version of the truth is far from the reality. And she, all this time I used to say that Liz was giving me naive vibes. It's more so proven in this particular episode that she is just so naive and unaware of the things happening around her. She only gets the perspective of her friends and what her friends tell her, but we as viewers get the full scope of everything, and she is way off with her assessment. Liz feels confident in what she has with Jason. Essentially, she's irritated with Kyra because she feels as if Kyra threatens the relationship she has with Jason. That's essentially what it is. Kyra feels like the threat, and Liz receives her as that threat. Kyra essentially accepted getting to know AJ so that she could get to the bottom of what went wrong with Jason. That is what is consuming her mind. That is what she wants to get to the bottom of. Because Kyra is not somebody that is used to losing. She's not somebody that is good at accepting rejection, because she feels like she's that B. And so that is what is consuming her thought process at this point, not AJ. She could care less about AJ, no matter what she says. Her smoke, her attention, her heart, her mind is with Jason. My thing about Liz is that she lacks the awareness. She lacks the understanding that Jason essentially chose her as his second option. That is what we saw from last episode. He, according to what we heard, was willing to throw Liz on the wayside if Kyra told him that, "Yes, you are my one and only option." He was willing to toss Liz aside. And that speaks volumes to Liz being his second option. Liz being unaware of that is because Jason would never communicate that to Liz. And I see why. It's because it's his journey and his issues with Kyra. It has nothing to do with Liz. So I said, he chose you, Liz, as a second option because he was seeking surety, direction from Kyra, who never provided it to him. And so essentially Liz was like the fallback woman. Little does she know. And unfortunately said, when Amber asked her if she was sure about choosing one of the dudes, she mentions Jason. She was sure about Jason. She felt strongly about Jason. And that speaks a lot to where her mind is. AJ is like collateral damage at this point. It's her way to get to Jason, and she chose and she took it. I'm not gonna go too much into Joel and Venetia. All I have to say about their relationship is it's not going to last. past this show, I just see a change in Joel's whole demeanor, his whole everything towards Venetia. Just seemed unsure, like he's just doing it to finish the show, but I don't see anything there. I also said that it appears that every time she asked him a question like, oh, how did you feel about us spending time together at the ranch, all he gives her is singular answers. Yes, no, good, bad. And it's like, it just further emphasizes the fact that this man just has issues with communication. And I just felt like, you know, sometimes when women like guys, they make their emotions lead them. And so I feel like that's what Venetia is doing. So at this point, she's going to accept his singular answer. She's not going to take it as a red flag. She's just going to roll with it because she's that into him. But that is a mistake. And that is why I feel like that relationship is just not going to last. It's on shaky grounds. Jason goes on a date with Liz. He said he's feeling at ease. He's feeling confident in his decision. He feels like a weight has been lifted off his shoulders. And that actually mirrors what Alexis said about Ron being a weight lifted on her shoulders. Liz asked him, because she heard what Kyra had to say at the women's lounge. So she rightfully asked him, if Kyra had said yes to you, would you still be here with me? And he said, yes. And I took it as cap, big cap. Because everybody and their mother who saw that scene, and especially because he kept saying, oh, I'm just a soldier, I'm just waiting for my captain, he was trying to follow her lead. And for him to say that to me, it just seemed disingenuous from Jason. You know, it might be him wanting to not hurt Liz's feelings, but I didn't buy that. And the big lie was that he tells Liz he had made up his mind weeks ago. That's a lie. And we're gonna see why it was a lie when he speaks to Kyra later on. But he lied. Maybe to spare Liz's feelings, but that was a lie. He had not made his decision. Up until last episode, he was still wanting Kyra to make a decision. Meaning, I feel like if he got that okay from Kyra, he would drop Liz like a bag of rocks. And he didn't get that. So he went with his safe option. He gave Liz white roses, said that he only gave it to two people, his mother and stepmother, because he felt like Liz was pure and transparent and honest. And that was a sweet moment from Jason. And I love how Liz cried because it showed how it really resonated with her. The symbolism of the white roses, the meaning behind it made her tear up, you know. Amber and KG, I'm not going to spend too long on these people. I feel like Amber is not being 100% honest with herself. I feel as if she just wants to win. She just wants to make it to the end and say she ended up with someone. I do not feel like it's genuine on both parts. Because remember when KG met her ex, KG said that, oh, he wanted 5 children. And she was like, well, okay. And my thing was that the ex was looking at her like, is that true? Because she never said that to me. You know, I just feel like Amber wants to win. And I know I said that, well, if she wants children, then she wants children. It's not a big deal. But I feel as though a lot of it also has to do with her not having many options on the show and she wanting to make it as far as she can. She will just say things to get along. But I don't think it's authentic. If we go back to that date they had and they spoke about marriage, he said that he wasn't really into being married at that point. And she rolled with it. She rolled with it. Even though it's clear that marriage was something that was important to her. Because she led with, so do you want to be married? If that wasn't a big deal to you, you wouldn't even ask that question. So now, KG has changed his mind and feels like maybe perhaps marriage is something that he might look into. However, he is saying that he is celibate, and that is something that Amber is taken aback by because she wants to have sex, you know, and she doesn't want to wait 2 years, 3 years for marriage to do so, you know, and she feels like she can get that sex from KG that she desires. We shall see, and I feel like it's dangerous to include sex into the situation at this point because although in show years it seems like they've been together all this time, but in reality they only know each other for a couple of weeks. And to bring sex into the equation that quickly, that's a recipe for disaster. And I feel like she should wait a bit before she gets herself into that situation, you know. And KG cried, and KG felt like, you know, it was so important that she gave him that confidence and that ability to say, like, I trust her. I believe what she's saying to me. But I don't believe Amber at all. Amber is just doing what she needs to do to make it. I don't see anything authentic from her at all. I feel like if you don't respect where somebody is in their sexual journey, it really means that you don't really respect them. Because her trying to persuade him to, end his celibacy journey says a lot about how they view certain things and that they're really not on the same page. But I digress. So we go back to Kyra. Kyra, as I said, is stuck on Jason, is stuck on trying to rectify why she wasn't the one he chose. She had the date with AJ. I saw nothing. I felt nothing. Their situation is pointless at this point. I don't see any chemistry there. I see a lack of interest from Kyra's part, and I feel like I feel like AJ is oblivious, but I know he's not oblivious, but it just looks like he's oblivious. So the second meeting where the women convened, Liz brought the smoke. She had already asked Jason, would you still choose me if Kyra told you yes? He said no. So Liz is coming into this meeting with all the ammunition geared directly towards Kyra. She was like, well, Jason told me that if you had said yes, he would have still chosen me. He gave me roses and he said he'd only given it to 2 people and blah, 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 blah. Kyra is laughing. Kyra finds it comical because Kyra feels as if Jason is one way with her and a different way with Liz, essentially. And she dealt Kyra the final blow, which was Jason said he had made up his mind about me, Liz, 2 weeks ago, and that he was sure about his decision. We all know that that's a lie, because Jason was waiting for Kyra and her direction in the whole situation, and when he didn't get that, he fell back to Liz. That is the truth. It's unfortunate. I hate to say it, but Liz was the fallback woman. That is why it's so funny, and that is why Kyra is laughing. It did come off as extremely disrespectful, but we as viewers understand why Kyra was laughing. Liz saw that and she felt disrespected by Kyra, but only if she knew what Jason was doing in that previous episode, how he framed his questions. Then she would come to the realization that something might be fishy in her situation with Jason, but she felt as if Kyra was just being a hater. And that's something I've come to realize with Liz. She'd quicker just trust the guy than trust what the females say about the guy. And that's what you call a woman who is a ride or die. That's the type of friend that you can't tell her anything about her man. If her man, or if she doesn't see that from the man, nothing you could say would sway her decision from him. And that's what it is with Liz. So Kyra feels like it is a joke, because Jason presents a side to her that obviously is not presenting to Liz. Liz probably does not get to see much of Jason's side, or all sides of Jason, because Jason is a chameleon. Jason will change based on the woman that he's next to. Period. And that is scary, because it becomes a situation of, who are you really then? Who are you really? It gives me people pleaser vibes from Jason, which is why we were shocked when he did this, and I will say it later on. Kyra feels like if what Liz is saying is true, then the way that he's flip-flopped and upped and all these things, she in the beginning felt like he would be the one to handle her heart with care. And that was her hesitation about AJ, that he wouldn't be able to do that. So now she's coming, or she's feeling as if, based on what Liz has said, that he probably was the one she should have been looking out for, and he was probably the one that was wrong for her all along. Do I truly believe that she feels like that? No. At this point, it's just spite. She's feeling hurt. So she moved her decision at that very point. After hearing what Liz had to say, she changed her decision from Jason, which it always was, to AJ, which is her fallback guy. And I felt like at this point, Kyra, go home. At this point, Kyra, leave. The person you want does not want you. But I feel like she doesn't believe him. She doesn't believe that he doesn't want her, because she feels like she's a better catch than Liz. And she is just in disbelief at this point. So to almost get back at Jason and the whole situation, she's speaking AJ, but it is not genuine. Liz feels like Kyra attacking Jason's personality and his character is disrespectful, because the side she's gotten to Jason has not been what Kyra is saying. But Liz is kind of operating on naivety to a certain extent. Benefits you as an individual in the dating phase when you're gathering information about people, to take other people's account of other people into consideration, because the person may be one way with you but may be a different way with somebody else. To absolutely discount other people's experience with that person is you choosing to be naive. And that will not be good for you in the long run. Because later on in the relationship, you will begin to get that version that other person was telling you about. And it would not be pleasant. According to what Tommy said, there were only supposed to be 3 couples. But because Kyra did that kind of vindictive move of choosing AJ, it became 4 couples, which is unprecedented. Kyra feels played by Jason. She feels like what Jason communicated to her and what Liz is saying is not accurate. It's not the same thing. She finally decided to have a conversation with Jason. Kyra feels as if Jason lied to her essentially, and that she feels played. The whole time Kyra has been struggling for power and control of the situation. She has been on the fence all this time up until this point, and I feel like she felt like at that particular point she would have been the one with the power. People are praising her for her approach, and I do see some formidable points in her strategy. However, where it kind of bit her in the A was she not realizing or understanding or feeling like Jason was going to stay 10 toes deep on his decision. Everybody, including me, felt like Jason would flip-flop. Everybody felt as if the moment Kyra decided to sit down with Jason, he would change his mind and go back to Kyra. Little did we know that Jason's decision was final and his mind was made up. And a lot of people gave him respect for that because everybody felt like he was a flip-flopper. Everybody felt like he was the type of guy that could be easily swayed, including Kyra. Kyra thought that the moment she met up with Jason, that Jason would just flip and go on to her. But she just did not see him as a man of integrity in that way, and felt like she had this power over Jason where if she wanted him, she could have him. But little did she know, it backfired on her. And she confronted Jason, and she felt like he lied to her. He gave her this perception that it was all about her, when really it was about him. Now, what struck me the wrong way about what Kyra said about, I thought it was about me and my decision and not about you and your decision. My thing about it is, I feel like Kyra is very selfish, and she wants everyththing to be about her. She wants these men to chase her. She wants to be the queen bee. She wants to be the one that they grovel after and beg. But when Jason flipped the script on her, she wasn't ready for that. She wasn't expecting that, and it hit her ego hard. Because Kyra is someone that does not like losing. She's accustomed to winning in areas of competition, and she did not see that coming. Nobody saw it coming from Jason. Jason said he felt like he was being interrogated by her. He felt like it wasn't a date. He felt like it wasn't a situation where she was getting to know him. It was a situation where she was interrogating him for answers. Because, she came in guns blazing, annoyed, angry at him, and all these things. She wanted Jason to make it about her and her process. And I just saw that as selfish. This is not the Bachelorette. These men are not waiting for you to make a decision. These men are making their own decisions. And she discounted the fact that Jason made a solid decision on Liz. She felt like it was a joke. Or simply speak to him and he changed his mind. But she just did not believe that Jason made a decision for Liz over her. That hurt her. That bruised her ego. She's saying that Liz is celibate. And Liz wants a partner that is celibate. And based on her conversations with Jason is not that person for Liz. Jason is not that spiritual leader that Jason wants. Quoting Daniel, even in his own interview, his own self-interview, he stated that he's not that much of a religious person. His ability to quote scripture is not a sign of spiritual leadership. Granted, he's also not the one for Kyra. And I feel like she's not seeing that part at all. And the reason why I say that is, he is not the leader that Kyra said she wanted in her man. Why? Because up until this point, Jason has been following her lead. Jason called her a captain, and he's essentially been waiting to see what she does. That's not a leader. That is not a leader. So as much as he's not a spiritual leader for Liz, he's not a leader for you, Kyra. He's not a match for either of these women. But within the show, because, their choices are limited, Kyra is obviously gonna poke the bear and say, well, he's not a good match for Liz. He's not a good match for you either. He's not that leader that you want. Period. She's upset that their discourse created another avenue or another a hole for somebody else to slip in. And that's the nature of multi-dating. I understand why Kyra felt as if Jason was waiting for her to make a decision. I understand why she felt like Jason was somewhat allowing her to go through her own process. But at the end of the day, he stated clearly to her that he was not really interested in waiting for her to wait until the entire process was over to make a decision. He did not feel comfortable with that. If somebody doesn't fulfill your needs or doesn't give you that surety that you want, it's in your right to go to someone that is able to give that to you. There should be no hard feelings about that. It is a part of the dating process, especially multi-dating. That's how you pick your partners. If somebody's not giving you what you want, you know you have other options. And that's how you narrow down who you're going to be with. That's the nature of multi-dating. He thought Jason would handle her with care, but clearly, at that meeting that he had with Kyra, he was just firm on his choice. He was not about to be swayed by her. And it came off a bit blunt, but that is what she needed to hear. The way Kyra should go home. She's there standing there, final four with AJ, and then Tommy says that they have to meet family members, and then AJ is looking hesitant, and let's see what happens there. I feel like Kyra looks pathetic at this point. She's over here watching Jason with Liz, and I feel like she decided to pick AJ because she still feels as if Jason did not make the right decision. She still feels like she can persuade him to be with her. That is why she's there with AJ, only to persuade Jason. Jason doesn't look bothered, which is funny. Kyra looks very bothered, but Jason is not bothered by her tactics, and I hope he continues to be unbothered. She's just doing this to get Jason's attention, to see, oh, Jason, look at what you passed up. Look at what you passed up on. Look at what you missed. But Jason doesn't care. But anyways, we're gonna see what happens next episode. You guys, it was wonderful doing this. This episode was crazy, and I liked it. You know, let me know what you think about this episode of Ready to Love. Like and subscribe. Thank you for my 73 subscribers. I'm so grateful, you guys. Subscribe if you like what I have to say, and see you next time. Bye bye.